Close your eyes, close your eyes, close your eyes and feel me without feeling me. The mental intercourse, mental intercourse.
Close your eyes, cross your legs and try to touch your toes. Now uncross your legs, open your eyes and smell the rose. It's like fresh butter across bread, X and O's. Don't have the pain like Easter eggs, release the stress and blow. Breathe in deep, don't be scared to stretch your soul. Expand your goals, don't be unfair to collect what's whole. Who's thinking like this? Now I wish the best for those that's blessed with codes. Until then the secret is out. Compare your ignorance to this metric code. There is no heavens above or no hell below. Your pearl will never shine if you keep the shell closed. You know how it goes, mental intercourse.
Mental intercourse, tongue kissing verbally, flying hugs and diamonds the skies while my mind thinking pervertedly. Mental intercourse, mental intercourse, mental intercourse, tongue kissing verbally, flying hugs and diamonds the skies while my mind thinking pervertedly. Mental intercourse, mental intercourse.
I don't want pussy, I want you. No wishes, just hugs and kisses. Build on life and relationships. Sell, fuck a hotel. We on the roof, candlelight and fruit. If it's real, then we both tell the truth. You kill for me, then I kill for you. But for now we dance to a heavenly tune. It's a full blue moon. Light embrace the silhouette of your face. Your spirit I can taste. Talk to God like Moses. Your life ain't hard, I hold you. Just like I told you before I make love, I'ma mold you like ripples of clay. Make you stronger, lick the white out. Deep convo, penetrate over great blunt smoke. Baby, you're bliss, wow.
Mental intercourse, tongue kissing verbally, flying hugs and diamonds the skies while my mind thinking pervertedly. Mental intercourse, mental intercourse, mental intercourse, tongue kissing verbally, flying hugs and diamonds the skies while my mind thinking pervertedly. Mental intercourse, mental intercourse, tongue kissing cold lies, flowers and rose lies, without feeling me, without feeling me, to feel me, to feel me. Tongue kissing cold lies, flowers and rose lies, without feeling me, without feeling me, without feeling me. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to this very special episode of Mental Intercourse with Mr. Sapiosexual and myself, Miss Buttafly. Tonight we are actually going to make Mr. Sapiosexual himself our special guest. He's not acting in his co-host capacities tonight. He is our special guest because we want to give you, the listeners, an opportunity to really get to know us so that you can feel comfortable with the subject matter that we're going to be discussing, and we want you to feel comfortable enough to, give us your feedback and things of that nature. So without further ado, I want to bring on our special guest for the evening, Mr. Sapiosexual. The crowd goes.
That's what's up. How you doing, beloved?
I'm doing quite well. How's your week been?
Been busy in a productive way, so I shall not complain.
Okay.
Right.
What's up? I think I understand that. I think all the grown folks understand exactly what that
Exactly. No complaints here. I'm kind of really enjoying this lane and transition that I'm in, so I'm gonna ride this. I'm gonna ride this out.
Ride this out. Okay. All right. Well, since you brought it up, and once again, for those of you who are just tuning in, I am interviewing Mr. Sapiosexual this evening. Well, basically, I'm not really interviewing him. He's going to start talking, and he's going to start sharing his story and some of the more personal, intimate details of his story that have brought him to this point in his life and in his journey. So I want to give out the number for the show. If you want to call in to listen, it's 347-850-1062. And I do believe there is an option where you can get in my queue, so I'll know if you want to ask a question or not. And also the chat room is open, and we have several guests in there now. And I'm going to be getting on, and I'm going to be chatting it up with the guests in the chat room while you're sharing your story so that we can kind of work this thing from both ends.
Okay.
Pun intended. So without further ado, I want you to go ahead and just tell us a little bit about yourself, about, just the beginning of your story as you see fit to share it.
Okay. Well, as far as me, the reason I wanted to share my story, it's been a while since I actually shared the entire story. And anytime I do share a story or anybody shares a story, it's always therapeutic for the person telling it and also for those who are listening to it. I have people all the time that kind of tell me their story, and they may think they're just pouring their heart out to me, but it's so much I learned just through that sharing of their story.
Right.
My story, everybody has a different story, but everybody has a story that is definitely relevant to who they are and what they're doing. It doesn't be extreme as mine or anybody else's. Your story is your story. And I wanted to put out, because I guess everybody was kind of wondering all day today, it's like, how in the world how were you homeless and addicted to crack and a dope thing? You know, I said, nobody believes me, but to kind of give people a understanding about how one gets to that point and also how one transitions out of that point. As far as me growing up in Atlanta, I had both parents. We was in the house all together. It was just all three of us. My brother came along when I was 8 years old. The home, it was a good home. It was a good home, and it was dysfunctional. We had parents that fussed and fight like everybody else. They divorced when I was like 12. My mother and father both were working class people at the time, in the 70s. My father worked for General Motors. It's a factory worker. And back then, labor and factory workers were kind of like equivalent to your doctors and stuff today. Those were like the jobs to have. And my mother at the time, she was like 19. She started working at the time it was Bell South, which we know is AT&T today. She actually retired from there. And as they're separated when I was like 12 years old, they separated, went their separate ways. And we struggled. My mom struggled to maintain a home for me and my brother at the time. It was times there was no heat, no water. If we did have gas, we would boil water to wash up in, to wash dishes, and rice and pork and beans every night. We didn't miss a meal. It might have been the same meal, but we didn't miss a meal. And at that time, going to school, I didn't even have. Going from the 4th to 5th grade, didn't even have, like, new school clothes. So I'm wearing last year's clothes as a growing boy. They didn't fit. They were too tight or what have you. But that was kind of what went on. But we survived that. My mom, she did what she had to do in order to bring us out of position. My father at the time, he was just kind of enjoying his life, doing what he had to do. They kind of reconciled. They never got back together, but I used to spend like time with my father back and forth. My father was prior military in the Air Force. Now, for me as a child, I was always nobody, it takes a lot of hindsight to realize a lot of things, but nobody was talking about the things I was talking about. Nobody were into the things that I was talking about. I was kind of like a lone wolf out there. So I actually had to fit in. I tried to fit in. Me fitting in meant me getting outside of myself. And at that time, as a young boy, I never really understood who I really was. I just knew that everybody else was doing the total opposite of what I was doing, so I automatically figured that what I was doing was wrong or uncool.
Right.
But I like to read and write. I created stories as a young child. But nobody really mentored that for me. Nobody really saw that potential. Everybody was kind of living their life. You know, my parents, they did the best what they could do. You know, that's definitely no fault of their own. And as I kind of started fitting in, I kind of lost more and more of whatever identity that I did have or the identity that I was supposed to contribute to. I really didn't figure it out because I was so busy being a chameleon. You know what I'm saying? I was kind of mocking everybody else. I was imitating everybody else and what they were doing because nobody was doing what I was doing. So I always called myself a John Doe when I was a child because I was just kind of empty. I excelled in whatever it was, academically, honor roll, principal list, or what have you. Never issue. We had writing essays and stuff in school. You know what I'm saying? I was winning prizes throughout the school just from the writing alone. But you know, other than the teachers who already had a classroom, overcrowded classroom, and a bunch of children to discipline, couldn't really take the time to mentor any type of, unless it was sports. You know, I played football, I ran track, and did those things. Nature, very, very active. And as I got older, at the time I never smoked, I never drank anything, no cigarettes. I did none of that. We just started smoke our grandmother's cigarettes with my cousin when we were younger, but that was about the extent of it. I never was into it. You know, my dad, he was the party guy. His house was party central. He sold weed at the time. That's the first time I saw like cocaine and things like that. Women running. You know, he had women that were in the house. You know, he was the spot. He was the hangout spot in West Atlanta. And I used to love going over there because it was in apartments. It was kind of in the hood. You know, back in the 80s and stuff, it was safe to hang out. We hang out 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Everybody knows who everybody was, so it was no danger or anything like that. So it was just a good time. And plus, he was well known, and they knew who I was, and you know, so it was good times then. And as I got older, I ended up graduating high school. I went into the military. I went to the Marine Corps.
Okay.
And when I went into the Marine Corps at 18 years old, just old Southern boy, I was just trusting of everybody. I learned a lot of good lessons in the military. Of course, once again, it's like when you're coming from childhood not knowing who you were, then you get into an institution such as the military, you're never going to know who you are because they're training and programming you to be what they need you to be. So I never really got in tune to what manhood was. I only knew manhood according to what my uncles and my father and them did. And if they ran women, smoked dope, and did things of that nature, that's what I kind of figured manhood was. And if you let my aunts and you know other women who were bitter about what's going on there, they'll also tell you what a man is and shit. So I got all these different ideas of what a man is supposed to do and not supposed to do. I was totally confused, so I never really knew. And plus, then you have the entertainment industry as well that already pumped in my head about love stories. So when I got in the military, on my 20th birthday is when I got drunk for like the first time, drinking some strawberry booms for him, I think, what it was. Oh my God. God, I can't even smell it to this day. I get nauseated just thinking about it. And it was the guys who were in the car club that I was in North Carolina. And we got drunk. I got drunk. Actually, I went to work the next day, and I laid my head on the desk the entire morning. I was so hungover I couldn't do anything. And I had a partner of mine, Russell. He might be listening. He remember this. He was like, oh, he drunk. He can't do nothing. So that was my introduction to drinking. And I didn't do anything for a while after that, and no liquors, no beer, anything. I never did like beer for a long time. But I ended up getting married when I was like 20 years old to a young lady who was like 25 years old. Now I'm 20 years old in the military, do not know who I am, have not experienced life, and here I am going to be married. I don't even know what a marriage is. You know what I'm saying? And we were together we were together for 5 years. It was good for maybe 18 months, maybe. But once again, that was me staying into something longer because I had this thing like this. Once I saw my parents divorce and I saw people around me divorce, and I figured if I got married, it was going to be a one-shot, one-kill deal, and I was going to do it right because I wasn't going to go through what they had to go through, what they went through, and that's why theirs didn't work. I was going to show them how to do it that was my mentality into it, and never realized when life on life showed up, that ain't how it rolled. And so we ended up together for about 5 years. It was crazy. I found out she cheated on me, and things of that nature. So I was devastated. I was just a dude, just a kind of quiet, like kind of guy, sat back and listened, was always observant of a lot of things. Well, like I said, I was just kind of a lone wolf. People just weren't into what I was into. And the things I would say I was into, I just like things like reading. I like the information. I love knowledge and stuff at that time. And everybody else was just up on what the latest and greatest of whatever it was, whether it was Jordan's, rap music and stuff. And, of course, I was up on that, sports, and also I knew all the stats of everybody. I knew the salaries of everybody, how many records were sold. You know, all that information that clogs up our brain that pretty much we can't do shit with. And so ended up transferring to California when I was in the military. And that's when things kind of opened up, started meeting more guys, started drinking a little bit more. You know, the fellows and stuff that were meeting, that was in the barracks and stuff with me. He was come by my house when I had my apartment with my wife, and I started throwing parties, and these guys were like drinkers, you know what I'm saying? So I started indulging more and more into the Hennessy and to the vodka and cranberry juices, because you're in California, you drink that white. You know, you're down south, it's more of the brown. So it was out West Coast, I got introduced to the vodkas and the gins and things of that nature. And, you know, it was the club scene or what have you. And that was I actually started smoking weed while I was in the military. Because my wife at that time, she smoked weed. And and I never did. Like I said, I never indulged in anything. And I was at the house one day, I said, let me try it. And when I kissed Mary Jane, game was over. I was in love. Yeah, it was a wrap. I was in love from then. So as you can see, I'm showing the progression of how things go, starting with the alcohol to the weed. So kind of fast forward, I end up getting out of the military. We stayed together for a little bit. She went back to North Carolina. And after that, I was like, you know, after finding out she had been cheated on, I've been cheated on, I was sick and, you know, heartbroken over that. And something clicked in my mind. I was like, you know, if it comes to a woman, I don't trust any woman. And if she ain't spreading her legs, she can't do shit for me. So I became a hoe. That was it. I just became a dog. And it was all about having sex. It was all about just having sex, having good times in the strip clubs. I got out of the military. I always kept a job. Even when I was 14 years old, I've always been out of work. Got out. At that time, you're looking in the 90s, mid-90s and late 90s, you know, everybody is hustling in the streets. So I started selling weed and working on the job and everything. So we partied, you know, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night in somebody's club or somewhere doing something. And this was the lifestyle that I was in for like years. Strip clubs, bringing strippers home, in the streets carrying pistols and all kind of, you know, just wilding out. In the club, VIP, we just splurging on money that, you know, really ain't have. It's just balling, so-called balling, what we thought it was. But that was the life for several years. And then I got introduced, just through that process, to start meeting different women. And since my thing were the women, I pretty much, those was kind of like my kryptonite at the time. It was like women. I got introduced to weed through a woman that was my wife at that time. Then when I got introduced to cocaine, it was the same thing. It was because of a woman that we was hanging with. It was several of us together. You know, I was smoking weed and drinking. That was my thing. I was a pothead. And she liked powder. And my partners, to them who we was all hanging with, I never knew they snorted powder. I didn't know anything about it. I used to sell it or whatever. And I tried it that night, didn't really care for it, didn't give a damn about it, so I really didn't go back to it. But, of course, hanging around that woman and it makes her freaky, so I got freaky and things of that nature, so I got caught into that trap. And so that started progressing. The cocaine usage started progressing over time. And as that progressed, I kind of got up out of it. Just for a few months at a time, because you got to realize this kind of expanded over 10 years, the hard usage. And if you want to include alcohol, if you want to include the alcohol and the weed, we're looking like 18 years of just substances that I was just using consistently, the nonstop. If I may have stopped smoking the weed at one time, I may have stopped smoking the crack, or I might stop snorting, but the alcohol was always present from day one. It never ended. That was like one of the last things to go. And as that progressed, things just got worse. It got worse. I ended up buying cars, ended up getting repoed. Couldn't keep an apartment because all my money was going to the dope, even though I was still, I was like that monkey trying to eat bananas, trying to sell his bananas. You know, a monkey can't sell bananas, eat them. That was me, thinking I'm going to do that. So that never really, was my forte, especially once I got on dope. And then dealing with the women and just, you know, the high sex drive that I had at the time. So that just kind of downward spiral from there. And then when I got introduced to crack, that was after the cocaine kind of was like so rough on my body and things, and we started smoking woos, lace blunts with cocaine, then we just put lace blunts with crack. So when I started sprinkling the blunts with that, we used to smoke them that way, smoke them in the papers, what have you. And I did that for like 2 years. You know what I'm saying? And that progressed and got worse and worse. Then introduced, and once again, here comes another female in life who introduced me to a straight shooter, to a pipe. And I never had the rush like that before. And when I hit it, it took me somewhere else that I had never been before. And that was just, and once again, I had the element of a synthetic high, plus the arousal of a woman in sex to be involved. And what I come to find out later, that creates one drug. So it's like you collect one drug. So I had the alcohol, the sex, and the crack. So right now that means that I couldn't have one without the other. They all go hand in hand. And I found that out the hard way once I tried to put one down and the other one increased, because I realized I had to stop it all.
Wow.
And I ended up getting myself together. I was homeless for a while, for about a year or so, just kind of from sofa to sofa, bed to bed, people houses or what have you. And then when I say homeless, now homeless is also out in the streets. And homeless is also being somewhere where you don't have your own lease, you don't own nothing, you ain't paying nothing. That's homeless too. You may have a roof over your head and a bathroom to piss in, but if it ain't yours, you're homeless, pretty much.
Right.
And so I was back for that. Then I kind of shut everything down. It's when I kind of got back into the religion aspect of thing. I would go to my aunt's house. She would have TBN on, and I was sitting there watching. I was sitting there watching that for hours, because it's like I was in the hood and I really had no other alternative. Because if I go outside, I'm exposed to the elements that's pretty much keeping me down. So I kind of locked myself in the house. And prior to that, I was with an older woman who had daughters, and we was getting drunk and high in that house. It was just so dysfunctional. The daughters were very promiscuous. We had thugs, and we had the dudes that were stealing and stuff in and out the house. It was just it was crazy. And once I started getting more and more into the crack, of course, that eats away at you really quickly, as far as finances and money and things of that nature. And once I cleaned myself up for a few months, I ended up getting this job working with teens. It was a wilderness camp. And what it was an alternative to juvenile. And the alternative to juvenile means that they can come to this program. We had zip lines, we had high wires, and all the outdoor activities. We take them camping and stuff. And they come there for 3 months. They learn some skills. They do. I was dealing with children with behavioral problems. Opposition defiant, ADHD, things of that nature. And they had independent living there at the facility. They had children who were like sexually abused or who were sexually abusing other children. We also had a drug offender program there for different teens. So I worked as a house parent, where I would bring the 6 boys. I was staying with 6 boys. So we come to the house after they could leave the facility, and I would bring them home. They would prepare chores, prepare dinner. I would just, teach them how to function and be responsible at home and how to clean up behind themselves and wash clothes and things of that nature. And
now, this is while you were in rehab, or you had already come out of rehab?
Okay. No. Okay. No, there was no rehab. I haven't hit a rehab because the reason I never went, it took me so long to get to a rehab, because as I grew up, everybody always told me how smart I was, how intelligent I was. So, what I'm saying, that you're going to do it. Everybody was depending on me to carry them, even as a child. Or my cousins and stuff like that. Everybody looked it up to me, and so I've been told this all my life. So when I get into a situation of abuse, in my mind, I was thinking that I'm smart enough to stop this. I can beat this. This ain't no problem. I can stop at any time because why? Y'all told me I was smart. My grades and the honor roll and principal list has told me that I am who I am. That I don't need that type of help because I can do this by myself. So, rehab didn't come. It was just pretty much me just slacking off. I can't say I really quit. I didn't really quit. I just stopped. And anything that stopped, it can go. Once you quit, that's pretty much a wrap. So I just stopped thinking that I quit. So I never really addressed the issues involved into that. And somebody told me like this. They was like, if I got a baseball bat and I'm hitting you over the head, do you need to stop or do you want me to quit? He said, because I stop, I can start again. But if I quit, I'm done. So I had just stopped using drugs and things of that nature. So when I was clean as far as away from the crack cocaine that I had been abusing for years prior. I had left all that alone, the cocaine, I left all that alone, even left the weed alone, but I was still drinking. So I ended up getting this job working with them, and I straightened up for pretty close to a year because I loved the job. I got great response from the children and from the other faculty that was there. Everybody loved me. They just loved me because of just my interaction, my spirit, my energy, and stuff that I had. And so I end up transferring away from the home position into the actual counselor position during the daytime because the program allowed for one non-degree counselor, and that was me.
Okay.
And with that, I got to work with the kids more personally because we had a boys' house and we had a girls' house. So in the day, they all came together. And even then, I should have known it was always the girls who gravitated to me more so than the guys. Kind of like where I'm at right now today for some reason. Right. So that was kind of a little look into it. The past is always going to give you the answers if you choose to visit it and look into it. So I got there. We used to go take them out camping in the woods for like 5 days. We'd go to different parts of Georgia in the mountains and the islands and stuff like that. I really loved the job, and I end up at that time meeting my daughter's mother because she actually worked in another program. So I ended up meeting her when she transferred over to our program to work at the boys' house. And at that time, we had got together. Pretty much we were two kind of broken people who had gotten together. She just came off of her relationship, a bad relationship, and some other personal problems and issues she was addressing or attempting to address. Me, myself, I never addressed my drug addiction I had. So we hit it off. It was like two wounded people just kind of hit it off. We were both kind of lonely in a lonely spot or what have you. And we kicked it together for about 2 years or so, kind of off and on. And that's when we actually moved in together. We actually moved into an apartment together at that time. But by that time, I started back on my drug binge again. So money coming up short, me stealing money out the facility and things of that nature, creeping out the cash box and things of that nature. And when we moved in together, I was full blown. But no, at the time I didn't use. But the girl I was using with prior, I had to let her go because it was like I couldn't get away from her grips. So we're staying together, and lo and behold, one day I run into this girl out the blue. And I was like, no. She was like, follow me so I can go drop this guy's van off, and I'm going to jump in the car with you. And as I'm following her, I was like, you need to turn left and get on about your damn business. So Of course, I didn't do that. I mean, I fought with myself, and it just didn't happen. And hooking back up with that, and once you stop, when you started back, it's like tenfold. It's even worse than it was before. And and by that time, I'm doing hella lying. I done spent rent money and shit in the apartment. I done, just fucking up all the way around. I'm constantly lying. She know that I'm lying and woo. So she wanted to kick me out. I ended up moving out of there. And I was actually sleeping at the building at the time where I worked at. I would act like I was leaving when the day was over with, and I would come back in because I had the alarm code to get back in. And I was actually sleeping in the office because I was homeless. I didn't really have anywhere to go, and nobody really knew what was going on. A couple of people kind of sensed it, and the director was like, you're not staying anywhere. So they already had other houses and stuff that they had, so they actually put me in another house with this other counselor who was there, and we shared this house. And but by then my addiction was like full blown. She was pregnant at the time, so I was like this runaway freight train. I couldn't stop it. So when she got pregnant, and my daughter was due to come in 2004. She was supposed to come that August, but she ended up coming early as a preemie in June 25th. So when she called me on the phone, was like, my water broke. I was like, so what that mean? She's like, well, I'm about to give birth. You got to meet me at the hospital. And at that time, when she called me, I was high as a kite. I had like an 8-ball of crack. And I had been smoking for like 2 or 3 hours, so I'm geeked out my mind. I mean, I am gone out my mind. And the drug had the clutch on me, so I'm sitting there saying to myself, you got to put this shit down. You got to get to the hospital. This is your firstborn child who which you asked for. And she was dealing with her thing, and she didn't know if she wanted to keep the baby or not, because she was dealing with her own depression and going through whatever she was going through. And I'm sitting there debating. I'm sitting here actually debating, do I go see my child being born or do I finish this dope?
Damn.
So I'm okay. So what I'm gonna do? So I'm smoking and shit. I'm like, damn, come on. So being the crackhead that I was, I compromised. I said, shit, I'll just take it to the hospital with me. So I jumped in the car with the dope, the pipe, and everything, and I'm riding down the expressway smoking dope on the way to the hospital to see my daughter being born. So, and I was actually like pulling over, taking hits of dope and shit like that. In my mind, I'm like, yo, you got to put this shit down. This is not gonna happen. So I ended up getting to the hospital, and like I said, I'm just geeked up. My eyes are big as dimes. You know what I'm saying? I'm just no pupils, they just big and everything. And when I got there, her mother hadn't arrived, and by that time they had gave her the epidural when they shoot her up. So she was geeked up herself, so she didn't notice me. She didn't notice that I was going out my mind. And when her mother got there, proud grandma was like, my baby, she the youngest too, my baby having a baby, so you just go sit down, I got this. Because actually 3 days prior to my daughter being born, her brother wife had a baby at the same hospital. So grandma was on super stoked that she got 2 grandbabies in 3 days apart.
Right.
So my daughter was born. She was a preemie, about 3 pounds 5 ounces, little bitty something. So I got to sleep it off. I was good for the next day or what have you. Actually, and believe it or not, I actually still had some money left. I couldn't believe that.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I moved back in with her because we had the baby. So it's like, okay. And she used to ask me questions all the time, are you going to be around? Are you the type, would you do anything for your family? Of course, yeah, I'm going to do that. I mean, my intention was to do that. But in order to make that happen, there were certain things I needed to take care of that I didn't realize at the time that needed to happen. So I ended up moving back into the house with her. She was off of work. My daughter had complications and ended up having to have surgery on her stomach, on her small intestines, because she had a section of her intestines that was not working due to her being a preemie. So they actually had to go operate. Cut out the part that wasn't working and sew the remaining back together. So she ended up having a feeder tube. Yeah, she ended up having a plug in her stomach where we would take the Enfamil and things and feed it directly into her intestines so they can bypass the part that was trying to heal. So she was in the hospital like for 4 months after she was born, and of course she was up there every day. I was working and stuff, and I was just so numb from being in my addiction. I know I went to saw my daughter, as much as I did. I could have done more, but at the time I didn't feel anything because I was just numb. I was going off the dope, and I would go there, what have you, and she was there for like 4 months, and they were just keeping her, and I finally got fed up. And somebody asked me, so how do you think we're doing? I said, I don't know what the fuck is going on. Why is she sitting here? What are we waiting on? So I made this big stir. So I got the hospital liaison involved. The surgeons came involved. They all had a big meeting with me. She said, well, you don't cause this. You're going to go up there and talk with them. And come to find out that we could have brought my daughter home, and we just had this machine, this pump, that we would feed her through. We'll feed her every so often. And so once I spoke up about it, is then when they released her, because basically the hospital was just sitting there collecting money off Medicaid while she was in the hospital stay. Yeah, so we ended up bringing her home, and I tried really hard to straighten up, but like I say, I was deep into it. I wasn't, I wasn't emotionally, I wasn't there. My physical body was there, but mentally, spiritually, emotionally, I was dead to the world. But I managed to be there enough in the first year of her life, which was very crucial, come to find out later on. As I was going to work and things of that nature, my car ended up breaking down on me. And I ended up getting a title loan from a and I ended up getting a title loan. Of course, I lost the car through the title loan. And we did have this company car. We had this company car that we was doing house visits with. One of the counselors was charged with going to the house for aftercare is what it was. Okay. But it was a car for the program. So what I was doing, I was just taking the car home at night and just driving it back in the morning. I mean, people knew of it. They didn't really sweat me about it or anything like that. But of course I fucked that up because I finally took the car one day. And I got paid on a Thursday. I never forget. I got paid on a Thursday. I did all this overtime. And at that time, I think that check for 2 weeks, it was like $900. I had this $900 check. And I had the car that Thursday, and I was supposed to be worked that Friday. I took the car that Thursday, and I ended up being in the crack spot. So I was in the dope spot. I got the hotel. I got the beer and the liquors. I got the women in there and everything. And basically, I went through $900 in less than 24 hours. I was flat ass broke. I didn't have 35 cents to even buy a honey bun at the time. Spent all this money. I had a hotel room. I ended up having to rent the hotel room out to some drug dealer or something. So I ended up getting put out of that. So I'm just standing out there, just looking stuck on stupid. People are blowing my phone up because it's like Friday morning, the car isn't there, I'm not at work, ain't nobody called, and they blowing my phone up. I got like 20-some messages, and I ain't trying to listen to none of them because I already know what it is. And I broke down and cried because I knew I had fucked up. I knew I had messed up. Right. So that was like Friday when it's blowing me up, and I finally called them Sunday, the director of the program. I said, I messed up. I said, I'm sorry I disappointed y'all. She said, no, you disappointed yourself. She's like, where's the car? I told them with the car. They came and got the car. But they had already put a warrant out for me. They already put a warrant out, so they considered it theft by taking. So they got the car back. I end up back at the house. No, not where my daughter, but where my brother was at. And I had to go turn myself in because I had the warrant. I went to a detox. I went to a detox, and I was sitting there letting the folks from my job know where I was at and what I was doing because I was feeling so guilty. But all they were doing at that time was keeping tabs on me so they can come get my ass. So when I got to rehab, and I was there for 3 days, the police ended up showing up. And the doctor there was pissed off. He was like, man, this pisses me off so bad because this should be confidential. And he said, how can anybody get better if they're taking you off and throwing you back in a cage somewhere? So I ended up getting locked up. I was there for like 5 days. My mom actually put up the house to bail me out. and I had to wait to go to court. This was like in March, and so I was like, so I'm sitting at home. I'm kind of stuck on stupid. I tried to figure I need to go do something. Instead of trying to go get help, I figured I need money. I got this child, and woo. And I end up going driving 18-wheelers. Now, mind you, I've never addressed my drug addiction. I never addressed any of the issues stemming from any of that. So I ended up going to truck driving school, and the crazy part was I don't ask people. I have a hard time asking people for anything, and I'm still like that way today. I'm getting a little better. And my daughter's mom, she was like, her mom ended up giving me $300 because she knew I needed money because I was going to Dalton, Georgia to drive truck, and I didn't have any money. And she's like, Mom, he's not going to ask. So she ended up giving me $300. And I got the $300, and I had the bus ticket already ready to go, Greyhound. That was already paid for, so it was good to go. And I had about 2 days before I left. I ended up taking that $300, called one of my boys. We went and ride around. We smoked all that up. I smoked the whole $300 up. So with my partner. So when I got the Greyhound, 2 days later, I didn't have $1 in my pocket. I just had a ticket, and I was like, well, I'm not going to turn around now. So I jumped on the bus with no money for food. So I was in and out. Every time the bus was stopping little stores, I was in there boosting shit out of the stores, honey buns, hot dog, whatever it was. I was just stealing to get it. And when I got to Dalton, I didn't have a Social Security card, and they was gonna give me a piss test. And the grace part about this was, my system wasn't clean enough anyway. Now, had I failed a urinalysis trying to get a DOT card and get a CDL, which is a federal license, if I would have popped positive on the test, I would have never, ever been allowed in my lifetime to get CDLs.
Right.
And so me not having a Social Security card, they couldn't do it. So I called the recruiter, and the recruiter said, don't worry about it. That's just how Georgia works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you to Oklahoma. So I went to Oklahoma City. Now, remind you, I don't have $1 to my name. And so he gave me a ticket for that. And I was trying to get a ride the next day from the people who were driving, who were shelling people before. And I was like, can I get a ride to the Greyhound? Nobody would give me a ride. And I'm like, damn, man, this shit is like 4 or 5 miles away. And I was like, and I got a big-ass suitcase. I got a duffel bag and a backpack. So, and I was like, man, if I stay here, I'm fucked. If I don't make it there and get that ticket, I'm fucked. So I started walking. So I'm walking down the expressway with these bags, walking down the expressway trying to get to this couple of exits down to where this bus station is at. And cars are zooming past, and I'm just walking, and I'm pissed. I'm halfway crying because, like, everything is just, like, messed up for me right now. And an 18-wheeler pulled over. An 18-wheeler truck pulled over, and it was 2 Mexican brothers who were driving. They were actually driving. They're like, where you going? I said, I'm just going to this pilot station with a Greyhound. And they actually gave me a ride. And he was like, good luck with the truck and whatever. So I ended up getting on the bus going to Oklahoma City. I got to Oklahoma City, once again, the same routine, in and out of stores. I love them little country stores. There ain't no cameras. They ain't used to folks stealing and shit like that, so I was tearing them up. They even had cigarettes at the time. I was smoking cigarettes. Their cigarettes were sitting on the front counter, so I had plenty of Newports and shit to smoke. And I got to Oklahoma City, and they had a continental breakfast, which was basically some sugar donuts and some cornflakes or something, and that's pretty much all I ate for several days. I had no money for anything. The guy who I was in the room with in the hotel, he ended up buying me food one time or what have you. I finally got the chance. I'm about to get my license. I thought everything was paid for, and it was like, you need $70 to get the license. I was like, man, I don't have any money. So lo and behold, my mom wired me $70. I ended up getting my CDLs, and I didn't go with the company that I was supposed to go with. I ended up switching to another company, Swift. And I got end up getting a trainer. So I had to ride 6 weeks with a trainer. Now, of course, I've been good on the drug addiction and stuff because I ain't had no money to get high. So got with the trainer. He actually stayed in Las Vegas. He was a brother from Chi-Town, real good brother. He was from Chi-Town, but him and his family stayed in Las Vegas. So most of our runs were on the West Coast. And then when it was home time, we used to go to at his crib in Vegas. And, you know, I used to stay in the truck and go walk the strip and things of that nature. But surely enough, I got that money in my pocket. I'm on Vegas at a truck stop. All the drugs and all the prostitutes are always at the truck stops. And I done found this. There was some little girl sitting there with a dope at. So we were getting dope and things like that. I survived the first time. When we came home the second time, I had a pocket full of money. I got this hotel room. It's like 3 days when it was time to go. This dude, he's calling me like, where you at? We got to get on the road and blah, blah, blah. And I am just geeked up beyond. I mean, even the girls that I was with, like, you got to go. She's like, don't lose what you ain't even got yet over this dope, baby. And I was like, I was stuck. I couldn't move. So I finally made it to the truck. And he looked at me. He's like, whatever you're doing, stop it.
Right.
So I ended up driving trucks for about a year and a half. And the whole time I was driving trucks, I was using. Every city I went to, I got high. Philadelphia, Nashville, I stayed geeked up in Nashville. Cincinnati, it was like everywhere I go, I could find dope. That's not hard to find. So, and man, I was just really messing up on the road. Lowe's wouldn't get delivery. I'm lying about stuff. I'm lying about issues I got, and you know, it's just a big ball of lies. And I finally made it. Through that without killing myself or anybody else. And I had made it back home. I said, well, I got over a year experience. I'm going to try to get a local job. So I was trying to get this local job. I ended up driving dump trucks, which is the shittiest job in the world. But I ended up getting back in my addiction because I'm back on the home turf, smoking dope again, and I found new people to smoke with and things of that nature. And I end up not driving trucks. I think my first check I got with driving dump trucks was like $400-500, and I was at the trap every weekend. Even when I was coming home on the road, I might have 3 days off. I would spend like a day and a half getting high, and maybe a day with my daughter and her mom, and you know, lying to her like, you know, I only got 2 days off, and I got to go do this, just lying all the time. So I never really spent any quality time with either of them because the dope at that time was more important.
Right.
Yeah, than family or what have you. And she knew something was wrong and stuff like that. And she stayed down with me though. She took me to a rehab before I started driving trucks, trying to make the thing work or whatever. And when I came off the road, let me back up. Yeah, so I got the felony charge. I ended up going to court in November, and they was trying to give me like 6 years. Some restitution and so many years probation. I was like, and how they set it up was the public defender would come to talk to you right before you go to the judge. So they was talking to everybody out there before they go. She come to me and said, well, you're up next. Here's the deal. I was like, damn, that's it? She said, yep, take it or leave it. And I looked, my mom was actually with me. She's like, I don't know what you want. I said, no, I don't want to take that deal. So they reset the date again. Ain't no resetting the date. I didn't show up for the date, of course, because I'm in the streets or whatever. So I got warrants on me. I'm in and out the streets because I'm not working anymore. So I went MIA for like 9 months in the streets. I didn't call my mom. I didn't call my daughter mom. I didn't call my brother. Nobody knew where I was at for 9 months. They didn't know if I was dead or what. And I was just in the streets homeless. I was just in the street homeless for all that time, wearing the same. I got a house full of clothes, fly clothes. You know, I used to go to the trap. I was sharper than the dope boys. You know what I'm saying? I was a dressed up trash can. I was cleaner than they were. And by the time I left there, I was bummy. But I ended up staying out there because I just said, fuck it, I'm done. And I'm in the street.